Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to do an if function. So if you have an intermediate knowledge, you can do a checking with a function called if. So it the same applies to macro as well. So if function, we check the sales. Is it greater than the sales target? If it's there, then we say yes. Otherwise, it is no. So 1,000 is greater than 500. Therefore, it's a yes. So now if I change this 1,000 to 400, it becomes no. So that is the fundamentals of if function. We can also use flowchart, a simple flowchart item, to represent that. So we say it's a sales amount greater than target. Is the sales amount greater than target? So usually it is a check, it's a question. So it depends on the variable of sales. Because sales sometimes could be 1,000, sometimes could be less than 500. So, and we check against a hurdle or the sales target. So when it is greater than, we put a message called yes. When it isn't, we put a message called no. So if it's a text, it's enclosed with a double quote. So if it's yes, it's a no. So we can also change the word from yes to exceed. Say example this, I change it to exceed target. And that will work as well. Because if it's greater, it is somewhere here. Greater than is yes. So I say exceed target. Now I can even say that for the C2, it is not that meaningful. So what I do is that I name the cell C2. I highlight this tool. I go to formulas and I choose create from selection. Now before you choose create from selection, there is a shortcut key you can use as well, which is Ctrl Shift F3. Ctrl Shift F3 to create that. We're taking the left column values and name for the name of the cell. So click OK. So here we have the words sales target. Usually when we click on any cell, it has the cell address rather than the name. But this time it's its name. So we can do the same, right? Change C2, click here again, and now B5 is greater than sales target. If it's yes, exceed target. No, it isn't. So that's no. So we can do the same right in the macro. Let's see how it goes. I'll fire up the Visual Basics editor then, alternate F11. And right click on the Microsoft Excel object, choose Insert, choose Module. and to sub. Now, as usual, you can always say, but you have no idea yet, right? Put a T first, right? I'll put a test, right? Stem for test, right? And then when you start typing, you find you have more meanings to it. So I can say if B5 is greater than C2, then now the difference between the normal if function in the worksheet function and the macro is that there is this structure: if, then, and if, then, and as well as else. So tell macro what you want to do if the condition met. So that is before the else part. If it's after else part, tell them what to do if the condition does not met. Does not meet. So what you want to do is that you can say either show a message box say no, yes, sorry, greater would be exceed target, or you can show a message box say no. So we do some indenting. Right, the way to indent is to, well, for example, message box, I put my insertion here, or I either highlight this and I press tab key. It's just that simple. Okay, so let's run this code one by one by pressing the function key F8. So it's B5 C2. Sorry, I think I make a mistake because B5 is not referring to the cell, right? We need to do some range function, right? We need to refer it to the B5 range dot value, and that same goes to range C2 dot value. I run this code. Okay, it's still no. Now if I just increase that, I can run exceed the target. Run this code, right? Now notice that if it's B5 is greater than the sales target, it now execute message box, and it will show the message box. But notice that it doesn't run on this line right after the else part, because basically it meets the condition. The condition is that sales is greater than the target. So it's always good that you put your commands there, right? Check if sales amount greater than sales target. Well, beside refer as a cell reference, right? You can also refer cell C2 as the sales as the name cell, right? So I change C2 to sales underscore target. And run the code, right? It works as well. Right? If I change this to 200, no, and so on. Now, the difference between a normal if function and a worksheet if function and compared to these macro if function is that we not only allow the allows that the macro to do to show a message, but it can do much more things, right? You can list out a list of tasks that are going to done, right? If it's the sales amount is greater than the sales target. Say for example, if it's exceed the target, you want to create a new worksheet and have this new data, save it to a new worksheet or save it to a new workbook. If it's else, what do you do, right? You might want to say, save this data into another worksheet, or maybe keep a record. But it all can be done with a single if and if structure. So that is the basics of if function. So a recap. So when you learn this thing, right? We can just say now, right? And let's just say if example. Then first, if you do a checking, is this value greater than this value? Okay, the value stored here. Then if it's less, instead of showing a no in the worksheet in this cell, right? I use a message box. Right, that is when it is greater than that, we say exceed target. If it's else, we say no. That's no. Now, can we make this more meaningful? Let's say yes, right? You have learned it. That is called declare, put it into assign it to variable. So to declare a variable, I first decide what value can be stored into this variable. What type of variables? So for example, range B5, I want to store some whole numbers. So I can use a I sales amount as integer. And then I can then assign this value into these variables. So instead of putting range B5 dot value, I now use I sales amount. Now the same goes to dim I sales target as integer. And I can have this is equal, we'll just temporarily put a D, copy this, put it here. Now the reason we use the variable is that again we can use the value stored in the variable again and again, and it's meaningful rather than say range B5 dot value, and it's much shorter, right? Rather than just name the range, we now put it to I sales target. So look at that. This is just one. So this is check if, right? It is kind of validation, right? Kind of validations, so that is easy. So if example, right, let's look at that. If it's working, right? See B5 is now save it to, after executing this instruction, I sales amount have 200. We store this 200 into it, and then we have this. And now we compare the I sales amount, right, is greater than this I sales target. And then if it's not, 200 is not, so we show message box no, message box no, and enter, and so on. So now I have bridging you the gap, right, from what you understand in the normal if function. I bring you to the whole new world of in macro. Next, in the next video, I'm going to demonstrate you how to do this more faster. Thank you. See you in the next video.